Why was that the most infuriating loss of the season for the Golden State Warriors? We're telling you on today's Locked On Dubs.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is the good word, everyone? Appreciate you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen of every day. A lot of ways you can check out the show, free and available wherever you get your audio podcast. We stream live on YouTube after all the games. If you're here, give us the thumbs up and leave your comment on why you believe the Golden State Warriors lost this game. Matt Kolsky and myself have differing opinions, I'm sure, but there are a lot of things to point to in this infuriating 102-99 loss to the LA Clippers. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win the first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. My name's Charlie Walter, formerly at 95.7 The Game. That's the flagship for the Golden State Warriors. I worked with Matt Kolsky there, who's my co-host today. He also spent some time and still spends some time here and there at KNBR. I also worked at CBS News Bay Area, call letters KPIX. This is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The rundown on today's show, they're definitely not free. They should be, but 9-19 from the charity stripe is not going to cut it at the high school level, and it's sure as hell not going to cut it in Los Angeles. Draymond's turnovers. I think Matt definitely would have liked to have seen a little more Kuminga with the way he was playing. My counter arguments, who are you going to put him in there over? Well, Draymond Green is a likely candidate, although he did play a good game. Don't get me wrong, but the 6 turnovers, it was head-scratching at times. No quit in the Dubs. They fight until the last second. A Gary Payton 3 rims out for a chance to send the game into overtime. It was like, how the heck are the Dubs in this game? They were down 9 with like 90 seconds to go, but there's no quit. And then lastly, why the Warriors lost. Actually, let's just start there. Why did the Warriors lose this game? Because, yes, 19 turnovers, that's tough formula. But the Clippers turned it over just as many times. In fact, the Clippers turned it over 17, so a little less. But why did they lose this game?
Pick your poison. The free throw, shooting under 50% from free throw is embarrassing. I don't know what other word to use for that.
Disgusting.
Yeah, you could find some. Yeah,
an atrocity, a disgrace to humanity. There's plenty.
Right there, if you go 13 for 19 instead of 9 for 19, you won the game. So, that's an easy answer. The other answer, broadly speaking, for me, the turnovers aren't good, but they are part of offense. You can't win games scoring 99 points. Sorry, it's 2024. And Steve Kerr consistently made decisions tonight that hurt the offense. I just don't get it. And I know I'm becoming a broken record and maybe an uninteresting one. I don't understand how you play Jonathan Kuminga 19 minutes on a night where he's clearly your second best offensive option. Who could you play him instead of? How about Trace Jackson-Davis, who was minus 11 in 20 minutes? How about Gary Payton, who was 0 for 4 in 12 minutes? Literally pick anybody besides Steph Curry, and he could have played some of the minutes that person played. Like Andrew Wiggins, generally underwhelming. Finished with 22 points, had a decent second half, but not inspiring anybody, certainly on the offensive end. And it's a credit to Wiggins.
Though, they do have James Harden, who went 4 of 15 the games. You got to give Wiggins the credit there.
I'm not taking anything away from Andrew Wiggins defensively. Has there been any indication this season that he is a better defender than Jonathan Kuminga? I haven't seen it.
Wiggins?
Yes. He just has more opportunity. He has a better history, certainly, but Jonathan Kuminga got James Harden twice tonight and was great. And Jonathan Kuminga generally has been good on the defensive end. Jonathan Kuminga on offense is not just putting his head down and blindly doing stuff. He's taking much better shots. He is passing the ball much better. Had 3 assists tonight in his 19 minutes. Also 3 steals if you're worried about defense. Like, here's the thing, man. There is no path to success for the Warriors where Jonathan Kuminga plays less than 20 minutes a night. The only way this team can win is if he either gets better, becomes more consistent, and you can use him as a second scoring option regularly, or shows enough that you can get value for him in a trade. If he is playing less than 20 minutes and not really able to show anything, I don't know what you're doing.
All right, so you're going a completely different path than me on this. You're going Kuminga, not getting enough minutes. That's a big reason why you're pointing to the L. I'm pointing to the play of Norman Powell, man. Sometimes you just got to give it to the other team. Every time the Warriors made this thing a game, every time the Warriors made the Warriors made their run, it was Norman Powell hitting the big shot. He finishes with 23 points, 5 of 6 from 3. Clippers go 16 of 34. That's 47%. On the other side, the Warriors shoot at just 36%. I mean, that's your difference. Sometimes you do have to just pat the other team on the back and say, hey, we played terrible today. You guys played good. I mean, I think Steve Kerr saw the writing on the wall early when he called a timeout like 4 or 5 minutes into this game. And it may have even been quicker than that. It was like 8-4, and he called a timeout. The Warriors came out sloppy, man. There are nights they're not going to have it.
Points.
They picked it up too late.
No, I'm sorry. You cannot credit the other team when you score 99. I'm not saying Jonathan Kuminga was the biggest reason they lost. Like I said, missing free throws, just like generally not playing good offense. There's lots of things you can point to. No, I'm not crediting the Clippers for what did the Clippers do tonight?
That
was so special. The Clippers were not particularly good. The Clippers shot 42% from the field. They hit a lot of threes. Credit them there, but they scored 102 points.
They weathered storms is what they did. That's really what they did.
102 points is a losing effort almost every night against almost any team in the NBA. Like, it's just, I'm not going to go, man, they just couldn't have caught the Clippers tonight, because they could have. They absolutely could have.
Oh, all they needed was 90 more seconds, man. 90 more seconds on the clock. They win that game. They took all the momentum late. Yep.
Right? But again, 13 of 19 is not a good free throw shooting night, and it would have won the game. Like, I can't. Fine, the Clippers get a win. The Clippers are a mediocre basketball team, and they played like a mediocre basketball team. This was the second time. Frankly, I don't even know if you can say this is the most disappointing loss, because the 3 losses have something in common. The Warriors no-showed them. Sorry. This was a very frustrating night for me. And to demand that Steph Curry be superhuman to win is not sustainable, right? What has characterized the exciting start for the Warriors is playing good basketball, and then if Steph Curry comes along for the ride, he'll close it against a good team. But they just didn't play good basketball tonight on the offensive end of the floor. And I do not believe, I just don't believe that, like, Brandon Pajemski and Gary Payton were so good that their 0 for 8 in 28 combined minutes is more worthwhile than other guys who can score the ball. Someone on the YouTube channel said Kuminga's not the guy, play Moody. Fine. Fine. Play Moody more than 16 minutes. Okay. I'll live with that. But play Buddy Hield more. Fine. I'll live with that. But in the first and second half tonight, they couldn't score to start. And the first sub was Gary Payton the second. Like, it doesn't make sense. And people can say Jonathan Kuminga is not a Warriors type of player, whatever. He's on the team. He's the second best player at attacking the basket and scoring. If you don't use him, you're failing to maximize an asset, period.
Fair enough. But was it not you that, 4 days ago, said the Warriors should be playing 12 deep?
I'm not saying that. First of all, they're missing at least, two of the guys that would be in that 12?
They still went 12 deep. Started Lindy Waters, played 29
Right.
minutes in the game. That's so interesting how Lindy Waters can go from, an injury away from not getting any playing time, and then those players, or vice versa, they get injured.
And again, I like Lindy Waters, okay? I like him as a end of the bench, hopefully improving three-point shooting type of player. In those 29 minutes tonight, he had 6 points on 2 of 6 shooting. It's not good enough. You have to put guys out there who can score the ball. Forget my obsession with Kuminga. If that means Buddy Hield gets 35 and Lindy only plays 20, great. If that means Moses Moody gets 25 and Lindy only plays, you're going to have to play guys who can score. And I don't understand the reticence. I'm very interested to see what Steve Kerr says after this game. But it was so clear that they were better with Trace Jackson-Davis off the floor tonight. It was so clear that Podziemski, Payton, and Waters were providing almost nothing offensively. I don't understand continuing to do that when that's clear and then losing a game by 3.
Podziemski's allergic to shooting right now, man. He's not even looking.
He's terrible.
He's notoriously a good shooter, man. I mean, he's been a good shooter throughout his entire life. I don't know what's happened.
He was a good shooter for 1 year in the NBA.
In high school and college?
No, that's great. That's great. Lots of guys do that. But right now, he can't hit the broadside of a barn. He was 0 for from the field, and I think 1 for 3 from the free throw line. And again, Jonathan Kuminga is not perfect. Moses Moody is not perfect, but they are playing a lot better than Brandon Podziemski is right now. They just are. It's just a fact. They are both better basketball players than Podziemski is at this moment. And it's been true all year. And I don't understand why a guy like Podziemski or even Andrew Wiggins continue to get the benefit of the doubt. It's not like Wiggins isn't out there missing free throws. You know what I mean?
6 of 8, man. I agree with a lot of the sentiment you're saying, but when I'm not putting down Wiggins to bring up everyone else, I think Wiggins been awesome this year, man. I think he's been awesome.
He's had a really good year. He has not been creating on offense. Would you agree with that? I'm not down on
box
Andrew
score
Wiggins
says
at all.
Otherwise.
I'm talking about. I'm not
got
saying
to the line 8 times, went 7 of 12, 22.
First of all,
the box
if we're
score
worried
lies.
about what the box score says, why isn't Jonathan Kuminga playing? Second of all, I'm not saying Wiggins hasn't been really good. He has. And Wiggins being closer to 21, 22 Wiggins than to last year or two is a huge part of why the Warriors are having a great season. I'm not trying to diss Wiggins. I'm not even trying to diss Brandon Podziemski. I'm saying in a game like tonight where clearly scoring is a problem, it's bizarre to me that you don't give more time to your best scorers. That includes Buddy Hield. That includes Jonathan Kuminga. That includes Moses Moody at this point, to be quite honest. I get it. You don't have Melton. I get it. Lindy Waters is like your starting replacement to not mess up your other rotations. Fine. Jonathan Kuminga played 12 minutes in the first half, 7 in the second. He had 12 points, 3 assists, 3 steals, 1 turnover. He was +2 in a game where all of your starters were in the negative.
No, I mean, when you say it like
make
that,
it make sense. Make it make sense is all I'm saying.
Fair enough. I want to make the last stanza of the game make sense. The final 90 seconds. It happened quick. Warriors turned a game that looked like it was over with 1:30 to go into a chance to send it into overtime with a Steph Curry 3 and then a Gary Payton the second 3. What was Gary doing on the floor? We're going to debate that. That's coming up on Locked On Warriors. First, let's tell you about BetterHelp. The show is sponsored by BetterHelp. And this month is all about gratitude. Grateful for you, Kolsky. Grateful for all the fans of Locked On Warriors that have welcomed me. Most of you guys didn't know me before July or whatever when my wife Kylan introduced you to me, and I'm grateful. And let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp, because therapy, there's times where you just need to talk about how grateful you are. That's the thing about meditation, right? When you're meditating, you start to realize how much you got done in a day. When the lady's telling you, this shows you how often I meditate, but when the lady's telling you, just let everything out. What did you do today, Chuck? What did you do today? So anyways, let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. BetterHelp.com/lockedonnba. The show rolls on. All right. Hopefully, I can describe the ending of this game better than that ad read.
Can I just give a shout out quickly?
What's up, man? Give it to me.
Let me just shout out Ryan on the chat, who said, "I really need better help right now." He's not wrong. I got to talk to somebody, for God's sakes.
I think we all do, man. That's why we're here. As soon as the buzzer sounds, after just about all these games to vent. Typically, it's been a winning performance. I mean, the Warriors fall to 10-3. They're 6-2 on the road, but two of those, I mean, they're 10-1 against the league, 0-2 against the LA Clippers. What is it about the LA Clippers that has given the Golden State Warriors so many problems? I think a lot of it has to do with the contrasting styles. The Warriors don't want to play half court every possession. They want to get up and run. And I thought for 85% of this game, LA kind of dictated the tempo, played a little bit slower. Warriors got in a funk. But late in the game, when the Warriors started speeding it up, they brought some pressure. All of a sudden, they score point after point. They turn a 10-point game with 2 minutes to go into a 3-point game. They have a chance. Steph Curry misses a three. It felt like they started that possession with about 30 seconds to go. And next thing you know, it's Curry in the corner. Second time he's touched it on the possession. There's 3 seconds left. He just kind of chucks it cross court. I think he was looking for Lindy Waters, and Gary Payton just kind of intercepted it. I mean, both of them would have had a good look. Payton was wide open. He had a few wide open threes in the game, and he missed it, which brings up the point. I mean, I know defense was at a premium there. Did they have any timeouts, Steve? Did they have any timeouts? That's rule number one in that situation.
Tougher, man. I hear you. If you're the head coach, like, when do you call the timeout? Right,
16 seconds to go. No, 16 seconds. I'm talking to get him off the floor and kind of reconfigure your lineup. But I mean, he's not historically that bad of a shooter to where you make that timeout. You kind of just go with the flow.
Yeah,
but you're down 3.
There's a lot of things you could do historically. Not calling the timeout and letting Steph and Draymond get it organized on the floor has worked really well for them, because obviously, if you set your offense, they get to set their defense. And the Clippers, part of this, the Clippers do have a really good defense. Their half-court defense, like you said, it's a contrasting style, and they won a lot of that battle tonight, as you can see by the total score. There's also the Zubac factor, which, again, for me, goes back to your best lineups, your best small ball lineups, which have Jonathan Kuminga in them, are the ones that you have a chance to play Zubac off the floor. I thought they made Zubac look bad down the stretch after because what it does for them when he's in the game, it's not that he's so dominant, right? He is a very smart center, though. And even if Trace or if Looney had been there tonight, right? When someone gets lined up one-on-one with Zubac, the defense collapses because they need help. There's nobody on this Warriors team, really, that can defend Zubac one-on-one, except apparently Draymond in the final moments of a game. That was unreal.
Warriors are missing Looney. Who knows how that much would have helped?
Yeah, but he's 6'9" too. I love Loon. He'll battle, but over the course of 48 minutes, the defense is going to collapse on Zubac. And he was really smart today. He made a lot of good passes, and they got a lot of open threes. And that was the one thing they did really well tonight, was shoot the ball well from 3-point range. So, look, I that part I'll give them credit for. And the Warriors, again, they waited so long to do the things to neutralize Zubac. And even then they had questionable offensive options in the game, whether it's Gary Payton or Brandon Pajemski or even Lindy Waters. This game was not a great defensive option, and certainly
No, the
right.
rotations were slow on Powell too. They even alluded to it at the end of the game. A few times they were a step too slow. Clippers made the extra pass. Warriors were nowhere to be found. And I mean, that was the difference of the game, dude. Waters hits the 3-point shot. Warriors they're down at this point, 89-85. They're down 4. That's with 6 minutes to go. Powell immediately follows with a 3-point shot. Then we get to the point where Curry makes a driving layup to cut it to 4 with 5 minutes to go. What do you know? Norman Powell, another 3-point shot. Seemed like it was somewhat of a theme. And then 99-92 with 2:48 to go. At this point, the Warriors just trying to hang around. Draymond Green had just turned it over with a ridiculous pass. It's his 6th of the game. What do you know? Norman Powell, another 3 off a Harden assist. Clippers are up 10. That's with 2:30 to go. So the fact that the Warriors turned this into a game is impressive. But there's your difference, man. Like, you can point to whatever. Norman Powell had some stones, man. And I am someone that gives credit where it's due. He's having a great season.
Yeah. And honestly, he's always been this guy, right? Like, it's happening over in a more extended period of time because Paul George is gone. But in the many, many times that Paul George was injured over the last few years, this is the sort of stuff Norman Powell can do. It's not out of his character to play that way. And of course he had stones. And of course he gets credit for hitting shots down the stretch. My point is and remains, the Warriors need to score not just more than 99, but more than 110 against the team like the Clippers. They are that much better than them. They should not be held under 100 points. And I guess my argument is then Norman Powell's trying to hit shots to catch up instead of hitting the daggers, with Steph Curry trying to hit shots to catch up. And in my view, if it's the Warriors playing front runner and Norman Powell trying to catch up, that's much more likely to go the Warriors' way, So, again, there are 1,000 reasons to point to for tonight. It feels like any one of 15 different things going the other direction wins this game for the Warriors. That's the nature of a 3-point loss against the team you believe you're better than. But, boy, for me, the free throws and some of the lineup choices are the two biggest things.
Yeah, the lineup choices are definitely interesting. I mean, it's the whole minutes roulette at this point of the season where it seems like everyone has to get at least 10 minutes on the Warriors, no matter how the game is going, no matter. I mean, you said that Gary Payton comes in when the Warriors offense is struggling early. It's almost like he has that lineup set. Gary's first man off the bench, and shoot around. He knows that's coming because, I mean, Anderson gets 13, Payton gets 12, Pajemski 16, Moody 16, 23 for Hield, 19 for Kuminga, 20 for Trace Jackson Davis. This wasn't a great Trace Jackson Davis game. You mentioned it earlier. Had the 8 points and was efficient from the floor because, other players on the team off the dribble broke down the defense and find Trace, or it's in transition, something along the lines of that. But you're not getting it to Trace on the low block and he's affecting the game by making any sort of moves. No, so and you wonder how he gets 20 and Kuminga gets 19. That's a fair gripe, man. I think if anyone in the chat listening to the show questions that one, and maybe Kerr's answer to that, if they asked him in post, would be it's all about Zubac, right? That would have to be the answer there.
Maybe, except that, again, very quickly it becomes clear that Trace Jackson Davis does not solve your Zubac problem because he's not really any better one-on-one against Zubac than look, Draymond is your best one-on-one defender against Zubac, ironically. Trace is much worse than Draymond. I think probably not any better than Kuminga because even when Trace is guarding him, you have to drop guys onto him, and that leads to open threes. It's just you have less speedy guys to close out on those open threes. Meanwhile, on the other end, he has no ability to make life hard on Zubac. Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green, Kyle Anderson, all the guys that can really move, make life hard on Zubac on the other end. Zubac is a guy the Warriors can take advantage of. And that's why Trace is actually a disadvantage in a game like this against a guy like Zubac.
All right, I want to get to this comment when the show returns. Dubs just lost to the Clippers with no Kawhi. They are not title contenders. What do we think about that? That's coming up on the show. All right, NFL fans, let's tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook and is official sponsor of the Locked On Warriors podcast. Let's tell you about it. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5. You get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL. It's all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play. You can do so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, that's on FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And back to the NBA, the Golden State Warriors and their betting line today. I would imagine that they were favorited in this one. I'm going to go ahead and say they were favorited against the LA Clippers. I don't see the spread in front of me. Actually, we'll give it to you. Yeah, the Warriors did not cover. It was -5.5 in the game. The Clippers say, hey, Vegas, keep some of your points. But if you do want to make Warriors bets, you could do it on FanDuel.com. All right, so let's get back to this comment, Kolsky. Just lost to the Clippers with no Kawhi Leonard. That means the Warriors are not title picks, title contenders. Your thoughts on that statement? Because 21-22, I'm always going off the most recent. Warriors did have some games here and there where they'd just come out with a dud. I remember I was doing post game at 95.7, and it was the Mavericks when I think they were retiring Dirk's number. They were recognizing Dirk, and the Dubs just came out and played terrible. There were some stretches where they didn't play great, and it's usually the games where you would think they'd play bad. And this was one of those games, man. You're getting the Clippers on a back-to-back of a doubleheader. Warriors haven't played since, Friday? You have some time off. You figured they'd come out a little bit sluggish on the road. They're playing in the first half in front of the wall. How do you not love the wall, baby? With a bunch of Clippers fans and random signs. I don't know what's going on with the wall, but I'm all for it. There were times where the Warriors come out that year flat, and it was usually in games you'd expect. So as long as they keep coming out against these title contenders on primetime, looking good and taking care of business against the bad teams, they can afford to slip up on the road against a team that's now above 500. I'm a firm believer in that, but not much here and there.
Broadly speaking, you got to beat teams like the Clippers. Specifically responding to that comment, I guess it's good news for the Cavs, because if the Warriors aren't contenders, they beat Oklahoma City, so I guess Oklahoma City's not a contender. Do you know the Boston Celtics lost to Atlanta? So they must not be a contender. So it's really just the Cavs, 15-0, give them the title.
Doesn't work that way. Transitive property, as much as we love the transitive property, it doesn't work that way. And look, there are games where you don't have it. It's a long season. And they fought back at the end, which I think is the most – that's 2 times against the Clippers now where they've played like trash, and they've given themselves a chance to win at the end of the game because they don't quit. They play hard. They're a good team.
Yes, it's unfortunate that they've lost 2 stinkers to the Clippers, and it's unfortunate that they apparently didn't even visit Cleveland on their road trip. But they remain tied at the top of the Western Conference, tied for the second best record in basketball, I believe. I have to check, but somewhere around there. Like, basketball teams lose games. We can't overreact. I have a lot of complaints, but like, now that they lost to the Clippers twice, it's all over. I'm not ready to go there.
No, they'll be just fine. A couple points I wanted to get to. The third quarter, Dubs, man. It's back. I remember when I was cutting the highlights for your show the next day. The previous day, I'd be cutting the games late night. Tim Roy and Tolbert on the call. Best broadcast team out there, man. And it was always the third quarter. It would just be sleepy up there. You know, everyone's just got their headphones in, kind of doing their thing. The Warriors are hanging around. They're playing the Hornets. They're down by 5, and bam, 17-point run. Next thing you know, Warriors are up 12. And they're doing that again this year. They're the best team right now in third quarter differential, which you love. They also, forget just that tonight. 27-19 in the third. It's the only quarter they won in the game. What is it about the Warriors in third quarter? Because it's been this way for a minute now, man. It's just when they wake up.
It's a good thing. Good teams are always good in the third quarter. I remember that being a huge storyline with the Bulls in the 90s. Good teams come out of halftime understanding the assignment and play well. So it's no surprise. And look, I think somewhat remarkably for any coach, Steve Kerr has kept his voice and the general locker room voices from the coaching staff fresh for a decade now. You know, that may be as great an accomplishment as any that he has, and there are some great ones. But it's clear that he still gets something done at halftime. And most coaches will tell you they don't do a whole lot, but like the job is making sure the team understands the assignment coming out in the second half. And I think the Warriors are pretty good at that. Just like they're pretty good at after timeout plays, just like they're pretty good at, like, frankly, the way they play and have in Steve Kerr's tenure is the display of a well-coached basketball team, you know? And maybe that is why I get overly exercised about coaching decisions that don't make a lot of sense to me, because I believe Steve Kerr's better than that. But there's no doubt that this team is on to something, and a bad night in LA doesn't change that.
You can always point to one thing that changes the course of a game, that had this gone differently, the Warriors win, whatever it may be. And it's an unfair way to look at sports. It's like, you know, the other day, Bengals Chargers, Burrow overthrows Chase by a foot and you lose because of it. You look back at it. Today, you look back at the final, 1 second, 2 seconds of the first half, and then the first 5 seconds of the third quarter. Final 2 seconds of the first half, Buddy Hield gets in a shooter's zone, fouls him, 3 free throws. There. I mean, that right there is the difference in the game, right?
I can't believe we didn't mention that yet. Yeah, there's another
difference
one
in the game. And then they start off the third quarter, the Clippers do, with just a bucket, kind of catching the Warriors sleeping. Fans are still getting their popcorn. Warriors are clearly still getting their bearings. Their surroundings under control, and bam, just like that, 5 points. You look back at that, and that's your difference in the ball game. You tighten things up for 5 more seconds in this game, and the Golden State Warriors are 11-2. But that's life, man. That is life. You know what else is life? Quentin Post in Santa Cruz. Ball is life, and so is Quentin Post in Santa Cruz, because he was in full uniform. I thought maybe at some point they were going to throw him in there after his great start in Santa Cruz. He's like the European Kevin Garnett right now, averaging 18 and 11. So how about that for the Warriors' second-round draft pick? There's a lone positive from today's game. Along with the Warriors fighting, Quentin Post is at least killing it in Santa Cruz. That gives you some hope that maybe he can contribute down the road.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the baseline, but it's good. That's what you want to see. I don't think there was any... Like, we may have tossed it around, but inside Warrior camp, there was no plan for Quentin Post to be a part of this year's team. He's a developmental guy for down the road, and rookies who are not ready for the NBA dominating Santa Cruz or dominating the G League in general is how you know they at least have the ability to potentially be an NBA player one day. If you go down to the G League and you don't stand out, you've got a problem. So no problems yet with Quentin Post.
It's like Moses Moody. He was dropping 50 down in
right. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Build the statue for him. The Atlanta Hawks are up next. That is Wednesday. It is a Wednesday game, 9 p.m. So,
especially
Warriors,
on the heels of this, you got to beat the crap out of the Hawks.
Yeah, you got to beat the Hawks. They're not a good basketball team. Then it's the Pelicans after that. It's Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs, and it's the Nets. So 4 winnable games to forget about this one for Golden State. The Hawks 7-8 on the season. That game will be at Chase Center. It's 7 p.m. 7 p.m. tip-off. I said 9. 7 p.m. tip-off in the Bay Area. For Matt Kolsky, Chuck Walter, this is Locked On Warriors. Hit the like button on the way out. It's free. It helps push this show to the algorithm and other Warriors fans. and you can catch it if you miss the full thing in the mornings, wherever you get your audio podcasts. Warriors lose 102-109. Peace and have a great day.
Got to score to win. Come on.